Hello, I'm Misheard from Misheard Song Lyrics, and today we're going to be talking about Season 2, Episode 81, song by England Dan and John Ford Coley called I'd Really Love to See You Tonight. The Misheard song lyric is, I'm not talking about the linens. And the correct lyrics is, I'm not talking about moving in. All these years, I was thinking as a kid, and I've heard from others, that they were discussing about linens, curtains, tablecloths, and really this is a song about moving in or not moving in, but actually an early song about a booty call, essentially. I mean, listen to the words here. So the lyrics I pulled up on lyrics.com is, hello, yeah, it's been a while. Not much. How about you? I'm not sure why I called. I guess I really wanted to talk to you. And I was thinking maybe later on we could get together for a while. It's been such a long time, and I really do miss your smile. I'm not talking about moving in, not linens, and I don't want to change your life, but there's a warm wind blowing. The stars are out, and I'd really love to see you tonight. That is a booty call, girl and boys. Nowadays, this whole phone call could just be done with a text, either with a eggplant or peach emoji. Back in the 70s, you had to work a little harder and you had to pick up the phone. Okay, so let's dig into this rabbit hole because there's so much stuff, especially for those of you that are around the same age as I am, growing up in the 70s, 80s, more so those even a little bit older than I, because this is where you're in your teens during this time, but lots of references from the 70s. So I'd Really Love to See You Tonight is a song written by Parker McGee and was a hit by England Dan. It's England Dan and John Ford Coley from their 1976 album titled Nights Are Forever. So who is England Dan and John Ford Coley? So it's a mouthful. They're an American soft rock duo composed of Danny Whalen. He's Danny Whalen. Okay, so he's England Dan Seals. So it's Danny Whalen, England Dan Seals, and John Edward or John Ford Coley. They were active through the 70s, and they're actually native Texans. So shout out to our Texans. And of course, they're best known for this 1976 single, I'd Really Love to See You Tonight. And he actually hit number 2 in the Billboard Hot 100 and then number 1 in the adult contemporary hit. I love it because it reminds me of my childhood, and it's one of the famous yacht rock or soft rock hits of that time. And after they disbanded, Seals began to perform this song and others as Dan Seals and launched a country music career through the 1980s, which produced, I guess, 11 number 1 country hits. Did not know that. And Dan Seals, aka England Dan, is also, like I said, he re-recorded the song in 1995 as an acoustic country music style. So very versatile. So how did they start? Because, when I heard about the names as well, it kind of like was, oh, is he related to? And yes, he is. So the duo began while they were friends and classmates at W.W. Samuel High School in Dallas, Texas. So those of you from there, whoop, whoop. Seals and Coley performed first as part of a local cover band, including Playboys 5 and These Few. And then they recorded a series of demos in Nashville as the Shimmerers. But their prospects ended with the death of their producer, unfortunately. And before he could secure a recording deal for them, so died. Their next grouping was Dallas pop sync group Southwest FOB, standing for not fresh off the boat, but freight on board, whose materials have been re-released on CD by the Sundays label. So here's the did you know that I did not realize, number 1. Seals, so Dan Seals, or England Dan of the duo, was the younger brother of Jim Seals of the 1970s soft rock duo Seals and Croft. That's the Seals part. That was like, hey, that looks familiar. And then the did you know number 2 is Dan's childhood nickname, England Dan, came to him by his brother Jim because he was a fan of the English rock band The Beatles, and he occasionally adopted and affected an English accent. So he became later as England Dan. John Coley's last name was respelled with a Coley, not 2 L's originally for the ease of pronunciation. And then Ford was added to his middle name for flow purposes. So that's now known as England Dan and John Ford Coley. Both, of course, toured the Texas music scene where they were at that time Southwest FOB. Had one charting song, The Smell of Incense, which rose to number 56 on the pop chart in 1968. And then the band played on the bill with such acts as Led Zeppelin. Look at that. While the group Seals and Coley began their own acoustic act, Coley and Whalen, The act was renamed England Dan and John Ford Coley, and the duo signed with A&M Records in 1970. In 1971, they both moved to LA, where they opened for numerous bands. The first break came in my birth year, 1972, with the song Simone. It became #1 hit in Japan and also charted in France, but not in the US. So then, success and later. The duo was released in 1972 from its contract with A&M after 2 albums. They still were like very believing in themselves, so they continued to press on, and they stumbled through this song that we're talking about today, I'd Really Love to See You Tonight, written by a young Mississippi-based songwriter, Peter McGee. They recorded the demo and played it in the office of Bob Greenberg, a senior VP at Atlantic Records. Atlanta had a subsidiary label named Big Tree in the same office, and Big Tree's founder, Doug Morris, had heard the song through the wall, see this is how it works, and came into the room. When Greenberg decided against it, Morris said, "We want it," and offered him a deal. That's how it works. Dan and John were paired with producer Kyle Lenning, who had also produced McGee's demo. The result was now this #2 US hit in September of 1976, which ultimately sold 2 million copies. July, like I said, 1976, and saw the release of John Ford Coley and England Dan's debut album for Big Tree, Nights Are Forever, was also produced by Lenning. Their second Big Tree single, called Nights Are Forever Without You, also written by Parker McGee, also made the Billboard Top 10. That I don't remember so much. I remember this one that we're talking about today. And after seeing the duo score a huge hit, A&M capitalized on the success by releasing a compilation, A&M, in 1976 called I Hear Music, using songs recorded years earlier. So both Seals and Coley embraced the, I didn't realize, Baha'i faith. And after Seals tried to talk some sense with his brother Jim back in 1972, years later, Coley returned back to Christianity, but Seals remained Baha'i until his death. Just a little tidbit there. And then during the early years on the road, the two performed playing as an acoustic duo, but during their hit years on Big Tree. And then in March of 1980, In It for Love, one of the 2 recordings added to the Best of England Dan and John Ford Coley back in December 1979, only managed a number 53, and after contributing songs to the movie Just Tell Me You Love Me in 1980, the pair decided to split and went their separate ways. That song eventually peaked at #2 on the Billboard Hot 100 for 2 weeks after, actually, it eventually peaked at #2 on the Billboard Hot 100 charts for 2 weeks behind Wild Cherry's Play That Funky Music and #1 on the Easy Listening chart. Billboard ranked it the #21 song for the 1976. This is again the song we're talking about. Really Like to See It Tonight. It reached #26 in the official UK chart. And then the band performed the song on the 1977 NBC teen drama called James at 15 in an episode called The Blowout, which aired during the 1977 and 78 season. So for those of you that were teenagers at the time, you will remember this show, James at 15. This series was preceded by a 1977 made-for-TV movie, James at 15, which aired back in September of 1977 and was intended to be a pilot for the series. It starred a young Melissa Sue Anderson in the pilot movie. Remember her? She was the sister Mary Ingalls on the NBC drama series Little House on the Prairie, which she starred from 1974 until 1981. Remember, she was the blind sister. So she played James's love interest. And James Hunter, who the protagonist is played by a young gentleman the name of Lance Kerwin. And for those of us horror fans, he was the young kid in the movie Salem's Lot, horror movie. And he, in this story, was the son of a college professor, I didn't know this connection, who moved his family across the country to take a teaching job transplanting young Janes from Oregon to Boston, Mass. Did not know that. The duo, back to England Dan and John Ford Coley, so that's the other rabbit hole we went to, split in 1980 when Seals decided to pursue a career in country music, where he found actual success through the 80s, scoring such hits as Meet Me in Montana with Marie Osmond and Bop. Seals died on March 25th, 2009, following treatment for mantle cell lymphoma, unfortunately. And then Coley formed another group that released an album on A&M Records, must have went back to them, and went to do some television and film appearances in the 80s. And he actually returned to an active touring schedule in the 1990s as well, in 2000s, where he co-produced for such acts as Eddie Money, who also passed away recently, with Vince Gill and Tom Worth. So these guys were still pretty big even past their prime. But what I want to share is the pop culture references. So the next Did You Know, which touches my heart perfectly for this Misheard song lyric this week, is This song was featured in the 1996 action thriller film called The Long Kiss Goodnight. I remember that with Gina Davis and Samuel L. Jackson. And in the movie, Jackson's character hears the song on the car radio while driving and starts to sing the chorus. I'm not talking about the linens. And instead, of course, I'm not talking about moving in. And then Gina Davis's character says, that's incorrect. So they had misheard it as well. I thought that was cool. And then later on in 2013, it was featured in the action, or actually comedy film, Anchorman 2, where Ron Burgundy, played by Will Ferrell, revisits his divorced wife, Veronica Corningstone, played by beautiful Christina Applegate, and his son Walter, just as he approached the door of their apartment in New York City with a gift for Walter. I thought that was hilarious. And then most recently, in a dark version of it, it was featured in the 2019 Netflix film El Camino, aka the Breaking Bad movie, which in this 2019 American, what they call neo-Western crime thriller film that serves as a sequel and epilogue to the television series to Breaking Bad. So I know there's a lot of you that love Breaking Bad. This song was played during Todd, Jesse Plemons' El Camino radio in a flashback scene when he lets Jesse Pinkman out of his cage, I remember this, to run an errand with him. And during this time, Jesse Pinkman would rather be anywhere than chained up in a white supremacist drug running gang. So, some fun and dark popular culture of this song, but who knew? I just thought about linens. It's about a hookup or potential hookup, booty call, connection to Little House on the Prairie. And now we know why England Dan got his England Dan name, and he's attached to his brother, who's, famous group as well. So very musically inclined family. So hopefully you learned something. I did. I love this rabbit hole I went through. And when you hear it, it's not about the linens, really. So keep singing those songs wrong. Bye.